Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and we're here today with special guest, Ditte Young, who's here to share with us her new book, which was instantly a #1 bestseller, What the Horse Whispers, a deeper understanding of the horse's mind and heart. Have you ever wondered what your horse is thinking and feeling? Step into the profound world of telepathic communication and discover a deeper bond with your equine companion as we're joined today by Ditte Young. So many of you know Ditte. She's been on the show before. She's an internationally renowned telepath, licensed therapist, animal communicator, clairvoyant, intuitive coach, and best-selling author who has dedicated her life to expanding human understanding of consciousness, connection, and communication, both seen and unseen. And she has been featured everywhere. She's been featured on the Telepathy tapes, Netflix, TEDx, The Money Heist, and MTV Radio, where she's been showcasing her expertise in animal telepathy and intuitive communication. Born with a rare sensitivity to the spirit world, Ditte possesses a unique ability to practice telepathy with remarkable speed and clarity. She's taught her methods to thousands of people around the world, helping individuals connect more deeply with themselves, their children, and their animals. Through her books and global work, Ditte continues to empower others to trust their intuition, understand behavior on a deeper level, and live more connected, authentic lives. So welcome to the show, Ditte Young, and congratulations on your new book, What the Horse Whispers, a deeper understanding of the horse's mind and heart, becoming an instant #1 bestseller and a #1 new release in several categories. How exciting!
Thank you. I can't believe it. I'm so excited about the book coming out.
Well, what an accomplishment. My goodness. I mean, the book being out today and you're already #1 bestseller in several categories and be a #1 new release, you have to be so excited.
I almost can't believe it, actually. I almost can't believe that the interest in telepathy and animal communication has grown.
So, why don't you share with us what inspired you to write this book?
I think many, many, many years ago, when I was about 10 years old, I knew I was going to be an author, but I didn't know what it was about. But later, when I found out that I had the abilities of an animal communicator, I knew this is so easy. I need to share this knowledge to people. And we were talking about literally 30 years ago. Um, I had so much knowledge gathered during these years, so I had to divide it into many books. And What the Horse Whispers is one out of many books.
Well, I love how this book was a #1 bestseller in Europe for a very long period of time. And now it's finally been translated into English. So we get to enjoy this book here as well. And what perfect timing. And one of the things you dive into in your book, you start off straight off with like being different is also a strength. And you dive into the topic of highly sensitive. Can you share what that means for us?
I think that being sensitive 30 years ago wasn't a topic that was acceptable to talk about. Actually, when I grew up, we never had the term sensitive or highly sensitive. And I think that feeling othered as I did being sensitive, and plus that I'm adopted from Korea, and being a telepath and an animal communicator made me feel very, very different than other people. And I just witnessed, when I look back in hindsight, that all these resources where I felt different became my career. It became a success. It became methods. It became tools of which I share with the world.
Well, I'd love to dive into your first experience because I know we've talked about other animals that you initially communicated with a child, and we're not going to dive into that in this interview. But the first horse you communicated with, I'd love to hear about that story.
The first horse I've held was in the northern part of where I live, which is called Sealand. It's a part of Denmark. And I was very unfamiliar and kind of a newbie as a telepath and an animal communicator. And this woman asked me, "Would you like to speak with my horse?" And I said, "Yes, sure." I didn't actually know how I did it or what I was going to ask the horse. And when I was in the stable, I suddenly felt very royal and very majestical. And I couldn't understand, is this me or is this my fantasy? Am I projecting stuff? And it occurred to me, oh my God, this is how telepathy works. This is the horse. And I opened my mouth and I told the owner, well, I think your horse is a queen. I think she's majestical. And she bursted into tears and she laughed during this session because I kind of nailed this personality profile, which is a huge part of how I work. Um, it's important for me to identify the animal's personality profiles to better help them, actually. So this was my very, very first meeting with a profile, which I have in my books.
So, what did that horse say to you? Because I'm sure being a very regal horse, or it probably had a few pointed things to say.
Oh, it's many years ago. I do remember the royal personality. I remember it talking about how it needed help to be loaded onto a trailer, and we succeeded with that. And I remember it because I thought, is it that easy loading such a huge animal into a trailer by just understanding it? Yeah, that was basically the takeaway from that session.
So, when you wrote your books, why did you start with the horses first?
I think that the horses truly taught me um, the complexity of and beauty of my work. Because, as some people know, I work with cats and cat owners, dogs, wildlife as well. But what really had my interest to begin with was the complexity of when we are sitting on an animal. I'm not a rider, as many people think I am. And I thought it was just beautiful as a licensed therapist, as I am as well, to solve behavioral issues between them. And I can only solve those issues if both of them agree. So it's like, kind of like couple therapy. And when I understood that, I just needed to pass that on first. And that's why the horses came first, because they were the greatest teachers in my life.
Were they were able to speak with you more clearly, uh, communicate with you more clearly? Was that also a reason than any other animal?
Actually, no, because every single animal I'm communicating with are very clear and have very clear signals telepathically and energetically. But I think it was only due to my personal interest in the complexity. And I think it was also because I knew that when I was such an early bird when it came to animal communication and telepathy in Europe back then, I needed to prove my abilities, and I knew that I could only prove it if there were a result in front of us or a behavioral change. And I couldn't prove it with the cats or the budgies or the goldfish or wildlife, but I knew that I could probably prove some sort of evidence if I could change a behavior. And I couldn't imagine any bigger result than changing the behavior of half a ton of an animal, which we can't force to do things in the sport. And luckily for me, I became big part of the equine sport later in any branches such as dressage, show jumping, military eventing. Yeah, it's a huge industry.
What are some of the number one things that owners reach out to you for their horses to get a better understanding?
It's primarily behavioral problems such as my dog suffers from separation anxiety or angst. It's aggressive towards other dogs. It has trauma responses and reactions. They want to better understand or how to help them. It's also health concerns, and I'm very, very focused on letting people know how much respect I have of not being the veterinarian, but to build the bridge between the more academic part of this world and the more holistical part. Because when we collaborate, the veterinarians and I, we reach a faster result, a better result, a more accurate result that will benefit the animal and the pet owner. So that's primarily those two topics people need my help with, and so many other things.
Well, I love how in your book you walk through just the life that you've lived, the education you went through, the training, but also you're teaching people how to also connect in with their horses, in this case, because the book is about horses, to really become more aware of that really divine connection we have with our animals.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that we need the animals, and I think that's why more and more people are interested in animal communication and to verify that they have too intuition and telepathic skills because these animals are so important to them. For some people, these are like their children. For other people, this is soulmates. This is their best friends. And I think the beauty of working with animals are working with pure love. And today, actually, I helped a woman from Sacramento in California and a dog, and the dog said to her because she was very telepathic and didn't really know how telepathic she was. And I told her, well, your dog says, and this is just brilliant. You and I, when we are in the bubble and you don't doubt your telepathic abilities, telepathy exists. And telepathy can only exist if you don't have frictions in there in the bubble. And the friction consists of doubting yourself or lacking trust in your self esteem or in your self worth. And I think that was just beautifully said because when we connect with the animals, everything disappears for a moment. We're just in the now. We are filled with love, filled with presence, filled with. Mm, it's a meditative state. I think basically most animal owners understand what I'm saying here. I do hope they understand what I'm saying. That's the beauty of why I do that and why I keep passing it on because it's so, so simple tools.
So, how do our horses feel when we have these really deep connections with them, where they feel like they're not a pet, they're a child, or they're something that we are deeply connected with in our soul?
They feel comfort, they feel safe. And I think that in many years, I had to tell people and inform people that we domesticate wildlife and we domesticate an animal which, in its nature, will always flee, escape, or fight. And it's such an honor when we deal with animals that are connecting with us. And they do that because they trust in their human beings. And when they trust in their human beings, they feel safe.
Then that's a beautiful relationship, then being able to have that animal really trust in you and have that safety.
Truly, truly. And I think that the beauty of working with animals and being around animals are definitely they are so loyal. When I meet animals who've been abused, they're still connecting or trying to connect with their abuser. Or if a rider have been a little bit too harsh with the whip, they're still seeking the rider the next day. They don't hold grudges against any human beings. They just seek us because they're social creatures who wants to connect with us and being part of a pack.
Is that also because they're here to teach us how to be better people? Because those two are really kind of difficult situations. Someone who abuses the animal and someone who is maybe a little harsh with the whip. I would think that those people are going through a lot of pain or have a lot of issues.
I think that there is a conscious out there and a meaning of why we get attracted with whatever we get attracted by that is bigger than my brain can comprehend here. But what I have understood so far after those many years as a telepath and an energy worker is definitely that we do attract a learning possibility. We attract other human beings or animals, just souls in general, that are here to help us with our personal growth. And these animals, regardless if they have air quote behavioral issues, it's still a possibility for us um, to evolve. For an example, if you have a very dominant animal and you are very insecure as a pet parent or a rider, the possibility of developing yourself will be to step up a little bit, not being violent, not being dominant, but having your own self-respect, which will require a high self-worth. That is personal growth. That is personal growth. And instead of projecting our incapabilities onto these animals, we have to take responsibilities to how can we be of service to these animals. And if they require you stepping up, you better step up. If they require us to be more silent or more at peace with ourselves, we better do that to honor them.
They're really asking us to be that pack leader in a way, the leader of the family.
Truly are, and that's why I have created those personality profiles that you'll read over and over again in my book. I will refer to these personality profiles. It's in a different book, but you'll meet them in the What the Horse Whispers, because when we understand their personality profile, we understand how we can be of service to their profiles and their needs, and that's where the potential is basically.
So, what is it like as a telepath when you have an animal communicate with you? Are they just like, "Hey, Diddy, how's it going? So good to see you," or are you getting images? Is it a mixture? What does that look like?
That's a good question. Well, for me, I get three modalities when I'm a telepath. I receive images in front of my inner eyes, and I receive thoughts, and that will sound like the tone of my own voice inside of my head. And I receive emotions. And my job is to combine those three modalities and create sentences out of it. With other words, animals do not speak the spoken language. They send energy, they send nonverbal communication, and I vocabularize it for the animal owner. When I meet the animals, oftentimes I have to seek their personality profiles, because if you look into a very playful personality profile, regardless if it's a cat, budgie, rabbit, horse, dog. The playful animal would say, "Hey, Dita, I would like to communicate. Would you want to play with me?" and so forth. Whereas the sensitive one might be a bit skeptical, because what is this? And who are you, Dide? And how long do I have to speak with you? And the prince or the princess would be, "Hey, butt off, I'm eating right now. Don't intervene in my space." The king and the queen would allow me to enter their space, and I would be very humble and honored to be in their space. So it varies a lot from animal to animal. And I'm not looking into the breeding of the animals, I'm looking into who they are as their personality profiles.
I think for a lot of horse owners, that really helps identify what animal they have because I'm sure everyone's like, oh, I've got a king and a queen for sure. Because they are, you can't mess with them. So,
Actually, the king and queens are a very rare personality profile because it's the leader of the pack. And usually, amongst horses, you can only have one leader. And people think that the king and the queen are the most dominant one, but they aren't. They're very reserved, they're very passive. It feels like if it's a dog, the old dog allowing the pups, to climb all over them. It's the old riding school pony, which allows all these students to climb on its back and will carry all these children and teach them how to become proper riders. And that requires empathy, sympathy, resources, and energy to allow all this every day. That's the true king and queens.
What are some things for people who are looking to develop their own telepathic skills? What's something they can start doing if they're wanting to do this with their horse?
I would definitely recommend them to start meditating first, because in the second we lower our brain waves, we become more self-aware. We become aware of our own breath. We become aware of the surroundings. And when we become aware of all that, we are in the now. And when we are in the now, we are more in tune with our five senses. When we connect with the five senses, we can connect with the sixth sense. And the sixth sense is something we use for clairvoyance or mediumship. And where we have that activated, the seventh sense can be activated. And that is where we find telepathy. So that's the first thing. The second thing is definitely for the riders out there, I recommend them to hold the heart of their animals, or just laying a hand on the horse's heart. And even though we have very different heart rates, I recommend you to try and lower your heart rate together with the horse. Find peace with the heart. With the horse. And when you feel a simultaneously synchronosic mm, bond between you, you must trust that you're telepathic in that moment.
I think that's such great advice for people who are looking to develop that skills. And I know you also offer many courses where people can really dive into that. Can you share a little bit about your courses with us?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I have one for parents who are interested in getting to know their non-speakers, their children, even better. I think there is room on that end to develop more into that area of my interest in the future. But what is very, very popular, and especially after being featured on several big podcasts, such as the Telepathy tapes and the Bialik. People are very, very interested in understanding their animals better. So I have created what is called Animal Telepathy Mastery, and it consists of modules, and you can take them and observe them where you are at in the world. And I've seen people and students coming in from Indonesia, Japan, New York, Washington, Sweden, Denmark, France, Italy. They're coming in from the entire world. And the beauty of it is I have a private closed group for all these students, and I ask them to help one another with their pets free of charge. And it's a safe environment for them to train and exercise all these methods and tools I'm passing on to my students, not being judged, don't have to prove themselves. They're not nervous in there, they're just cheering for one another. And that's just beauty. And this community is growing really, really fast.
What a beautiful community that is. My goodness. And to be a part of that, how empowering that is. And it has me kind of thinking, when someone is ready to buy a horse and include it in their family, how do they know which horse to go with?
That's just the best question ever. They should just go with their intuition because it's always correct. When people are hiring me, asking me, can you help me purchase a new horse because I want the perfect match? I always smile because I know there is no such thing as the perfect match. You will choose the animal that is going to be your next soul mate or soul buddy, regardless of the obstacles you might bump into, or the behavioral issues, or the many, many health concerns you'll meet on the road here. But I didn't meet an animal owner yet who never experienced this situation of my animal chose me, or on the other hand, I knew it was it. And everyone around me told me, don't do it, don't do it. It's too old, it's too young, it's too expensive, it's too cheap. And still they bought it and they got a friend for life.
Owning a horse is such a blessing, but they come with a lot of expense and a lot of care. Do you help people understand what's fully involved when they get a new horse? Or maybe their new horse is having problems and how to really identify what's going on?
Yeah, I have several online courses about that. But in short, when something is off with the animals, we tend to interpret that they have behavioral issues. So we have to remember it's in their instinct to flee or to fight. And in their behavior, when something is off, it could be a show jumping horse that will refuse to take the jumps. And that's a big problem if you're a competitor out there or work, you ride in the elite. Often the solution is found in health concerns or health issues. Or if you have an animal a dog who all of a suddenly have outbursts when it comes to other dogs, but is not necessarily had that prior, uh, it's 100% an health concern. So I'm always asking the animal's owner, is it something that is familiar to you? Have you observed this before? And and if I don't have time to book them in, I'll tell them go to the veterinarian first.
Do other kind of practices help? Like if we're looking like acupuncture and craniosacral kind of therapy and maybe even massage?
Definitely. I am so privileged that I have so many collaboration partners out there in the world because I think that if we lock on one tool, we become blind. And I think that the more practitioners we are, the better. And that being said, many, many writers tend to seek solutions all the time, and oftentimes the solution is in themselves. So I always ask the animal owners, could it have been you? And one of the courses I have is who is making who sick here? Is it the horse who makes the owner sick, or is it the owner who makes the horse sick? Because we have all these mirroring neurons flying in and out of the room where we affect one another, we impact one another. And I think this is such an interesting topic that I will definitely dive more into in the future with veterinarians, because I think there are many explanations when it comes to health concerns that is not only found in ulcers, food products, or solutions such as a masseuse. But I think that when the animal owner takes the responsibility and get the insight of how can I be of service, and they figure out, oh my God, when I'm okay, my animal is okay. When I'm sound and healthy, my animal becomes sound and healthy. This takes it to a way different level, doesn't it?
Oh my goodness, it does because it's asking us to be better people and to really do a lot of introspection as far as what can we do to change. Maybe we've got anger or unforgiveness or something going on that the horse is picking up.
Yeah, and I think that many, many animal owners have thought, just for a minute, I do hope that, just for a second, have thought, Oh, was it my thought? Is my animal reacting on my thoughts? Or is it a trauma response? It could be dogs who reacts to certain people or other dogs because out of insecurity from the animal owner. It could be a rider who thought, oh, did I forgot to breathe during that program? Was it me? Did I look out the door and now my horse is fleeing out of the riding arena? Or was it because my horse actually saw something? And I think it is so, so, so interesting, this topic. And I'm touching some of these topics in the book as well.
Well, I know you cover so much, and of course, we're not going to even cover a portion of it, but I mean, I loved your book. I thought it was so inspiring. There was so much education there. I learned so much. But one of the interesting things I want to touch on is when it's time to say goodbye to our horses. And I think a lot of people, I know even when I've had to put down my dogs later on, I'm like, ooh, did I really have to do that? Was that the right time? Do our horses know when it's time to go?
They do. Every animal on this planet know that I'm tired, that I lack energy now. And actually, I think many, many humans, when they are not being um, severely sick out of nowhere, like a shock or something traumatic is happening to them. We hear these stories where our grandparents are waiting for all their grandchildren to come visit them, and then a couple of days later, they are letting go of life. And the same thing happens for these animals. They are clinging on to life till they know my owner is ready. So they do know, and they have a very natural perspective when it comes to death because it's the most natural thing in the world. If we weren't putting them into boxes or inside our homes, they would seek outdoor. They would, seek nature. And this is such a vulnerable topic. I have just asked my followers on social media, what is the number one topic you are mostly interested to know more about? And every single follower said what happens before death, in death, and after, the afterlife. I have online courses about them. I have it in my book, and I know, and oh, thank you so much that this chapter touched you. I'm allowed to say that, I hope, touched you deeply. And in my speeches, I have my live events. I talk about it every single month when I have the opportunity to do so, because most pet parents are so afraid of losing their animals. It's, impossible to imagine the day where they don't have their animals anymore. And I completely understand. The grief and the sorrow is, I wouldn't say bigger than losing a human being, but to some people, it is just as severe losing an animal as it is losing a human being. And that's opens a quite a big debate because it's not acceptable in many parts of the world and the Western world to grieve over a dog. If you are not a dog person, people don't understand it. And I think it's something we should talk about because it should be allowed. Grief is grief. A best friend is a best friend. A family member is a family member, regardless if it has two or four legs.
I think any pet owner who deeply loves their pet goes through a good amount of grief when that animal is gone. And have you had horses that have come to you and said, okay, I'm ready, the time is now, and help to prepare their family for the next step?
I did. In those situations, animals are not just, tuning in on me and calling me on my telepathic cell phone and telling me, "Hey, it's time, Dita." But I usually get booked by the pet parents to come and ask them what do they think about it. And it's important for me to let them know I can't be the judge of that. I cannot be God over life and death. But what I can do is give them an honest answer. What is your animal thinking in the moment? What do they feel? And it can go either way. It could be a boy or a girl. It in some situations the animals will tell me I'm not ready. I can have a beautiful life. It could be the competition horses who can't compete anymore, but could they still have a beautiful life out there in the field? Sure, they can. One situation where I experienced uh, the reverse situation was a family where, and it's in my book, it was ready. It was ready to let go of life, but it had so many messages, important messages to the owner about her future and about her family situation. And I'm not going to spoil the story here because I hope the reader is going to enjoy the story. But listening to those beautiful messages and see it evolve and happening after we put down this beautiful horse has been remarkable. And it's been such a privilege being the ambassador and the interpreter of this animal just before it let go. And I was there during the euthanasia.
So, what does their heaven look like?
Heaven is what is heavenly to them as individual. For some animals, it is a forever green grass field. For other animals, it is a park where they can play with a ball all day. For other animals, it is sitting with their former owner because they might have passed and being with them indoor. And because we don't have linear time over there, it feels like a meditative state where we forget about time and place, location. We don't have any physical needs. We're just in the moment and it feels loving. It feels soothing. It feels like peace, truly peace. And when I'm connecting with these animals on the other side, actually, to be honest, I don't want to come back to planet Earth because it's so beautiful being there. And I have to come back to my own family and my mission here. But I truly understand when people are having an NDE experience and they doubt, should I stay or should I actually come back? I completely understand um, why they're doubting it.
Yeah, most don't want to come back. I have a couple friends that have had NDEs and they actually have argued with spirit, going, no, you can't send me back. I won't go. No way.
I completely understand why, because it
Oh.
is heavenly. The image of how we create heaven is based on the consciousness. And for me, heaven looks like what is heavenly to me, that would be sitting on a bench looking at the ocean and see the sun go down. And to you, Marianne, heaven, what is heavenly in your life might look differently, right? Which means we create with our consciousness what heaven is like. And we have our own individual heavens, yet still we are part of a bigger collective. And that's why we're all connected. And that's opens a huge conversation here of what is on the other side.
So, do our horses ever reincarnate and come back to us?
They can, but we have to remember that on the other side, they have a mission there too, and they have personal growth and development over there as well. And when I talk to them over there, and I ask them, do you have any sense of how long you've been over there? They are telling me, I have no idea. And I know on planet Earth, they might have been there for 3 months or a year or 6 years, but they don't understand the linear time, which means when they're that occupied with developing themselves, running after a ball, showing themselves off in front of other horses on the forever field, 50 years or 100 years goes by very, very fast to them. And it is very, very rare that I have witnessed an animal that have time enough to pass and come back to the same owner in this lifetime. It is doable, but they better hurry because, they don't even have time enough over there on the other side to be taught other, possibilities and developing. projects over there and come back to their owner. So it's a very, very rare thing.
I would think so because they do any kind of processing on the other side of maybe hurts and just their emotions?
Yeah, they do. And just like us as human beings, we have to see our entire life in flashes, in front of our inner eyes, in front of us, and relate to what happened in my life here on planet Earth as the person I am. How could I have been a better person? What do I regret? And to the people who have experienced NDE, these are exactly the questions we get told or asked when we are on the other side by other family members, guardian teams, a panel of advisors over there. There are a huge hierarchy on the other side. And the same thing goes for the animals. They have to look at their lives, and that could be a question such as, what was difficult to you as the sensitive prince? And how do you think you could evolve as a sensitive prince? Who's going to teach you to improve your sensitivity in the next life? And so forth and so forth. And this might take 50, 150 years before they're going to figure it out.
Do we all need that time to grow and evolve? And horses sound like they're no different. When you meet with horse owners that have had a horse that has passed, are you able to connect with that horse and get messages from them?
Yeah, actually, I can. And it's funny because I think a misconception is out there in the spiritual realm that it's impossible to reach. I've heard in my industry here, I've heard several mediums tell people, wait a little bit, let them get settled before we connect with them. And it actually not to offend my colleagues out there, but it makes no sense to me at all because, of course, we can connect with them on each step on the road where they are, but their knowledge of what they need to be taught over there, or their whereabouts, or what heaven looks like, could vary from the level of where I reach them on this path, right? Of course, if 3 months have gone by on planet Earth, they are more aware of what is going on in heaven when I reach them. Whereas if I reach them and I connect with them a week after they're deceased, they're probably not even fully there. Oftentimes, they want to stay here with their pet owners and comfort them in their grief for a while.
So the horses stay kind of close to their family after they pass?
Oh, yeah, most animals do. They want to give them comfort and be there. And I think many animal owners who are very sensitive or somewhat telepathic have experienced, I felt my dog, or I think I can smell, it feels like I'm smelling my horse even though lying in my bed. It's not possible. And I can only say, trust it.
Trust those little hints that we get along the way. For horse owners that are wanting to have a deeper connection with their horse, what the horse whispers help them and teach them?
I hope that it's going to teach them the intelligence of and the spirituality of the horses. And when they comprehend that and they truly understand what an intelligent horse they have, that they will be more open to become more verbal and more communicative with their animals. To be honest, I'm passing on simple tools all the time to human beings, which is my clients, in the entire world. And I keep repeating, just open your mouth and explain to these animals what is going on, what do we expect, what is the training program, what was the trauma about, what is my plan during the day, etc., because they do understand. So I truly hope that the aha moment for the reader will be, oh my God, I had no idea how intelligent they are.
What if someone has purchased a horse that has been through a great deal of trauma? How do they work through that?
It is a good question because they are, air quote, paying the price for prior experiences. Having a traumatized animal is always an interesting journey because it comes with a lot of reactions from this animal's nervous system, and it seems uncontrollable. It's just in a heartbeat of a second, it will react. But I can only advise you to create a new now, create a new story, tell your horse, I do understand that you probably come with trauma, even though you might not be aware of what the trauma was specifically. But just by understanding, whoa, this was a reaction. I'm not taking it personally, but I think that I'm going to teach you how to be in the world in a different way with me. And that's already going to be super, super helpful.
I think what a blessing that is to look at things in a new light, a new perspective. Are there times where you have to also shift the perspective of the horse so they're understanding their owners more?
Yeah, and thank you for that question because telepathy is not a one-way street. Telepathy is a dialogue between a human being and an animal. And oftentimes the animals need to understand things as well. And it's like 70-30% like I'm explaining things to the human being in 70% of the time, but in 30% of the time, especially when we deal with trauma, I have to explain to the animal, well, this owner is not hitting you, or this owner have different intentions than the other person. And by explaining things, and again, that's why the tools is open your mouth and be more communicative, they already feel more at ease, and then instantly they change their behavioral patterns.
Well, it's so amazing having this knowledge and how we can have better relationships with our horses, with our animals. I know you have other courses that are coming up. You do an animal telepathy mastery course. Can you share about that?
Yeah, that was the course that has gotten more and more popular, and I have had thousands of people in that program now from the entire world with that closed group where they can practice. Um, it gives the student the possibility to train by themselves because it's pre-recorded, but they will meet me at the very end live on the course on a Q&A date. And it gives them the possibility of having access to this course forever. I'll take them through the basic principles of what is telepathy, what is the difference between projecting or having a huge imagination and practice telepathy. I'm taking them through all these personality profiles. I'm teaching them how to connect with deceased animals, even talking them through shocks and traumas. And because I'm a licensed therapist, I'm passing on all the tools I have, which I have time enough to do in an online course on how to calm down a nervous system. So I think I got them pretty much covered when they want the basic tools for practicing telepathy.
Are there emotional signals that we should be paying attention to from our horses?
I think definitely we should be aware of when they get scared of something. Because when they get scared and it's half a ton of an animal that is having a reaction, they can become dangerous. They can throw themselves at one side, they can try to buck off the rider, they can stop in front of a jump, and that's pretty dangerous when we are just tiny human beings here compared to a bigger animal. And I think that we should honor them and know for a fact they are not doing this on purpose. Something is off. Is it a trauma reaction? Is it a health issue? Is it my signals that is off? We need to mirror that because and understand that what they want to do is basically be loyal and cooperate with us because they want to feel safe because they're pack animals. So when they do have that alertness over their behavior, we should take them pretty serious.
Have you ever had an instance where the horse is telling you the reason maybe they're sick or not feeling well, or the herd is having issues is because maybe there's something wrong with the land that they're on?
I have experienced that several times, and this opens a very, very alternative part of my work as an animal communicator, because the important thing for me to begin with 30 years ago was to prove myself, to prove telepathy through behavioral issues. And as the years gone by, um, when people became more aware of it and more ready and more open for the spiritual realm that telepathy is a part of, it opened the opportunity of other case stories, such as very sick animals that had spots all over their bodies or were afraid of being in the same box. And even though they changed the horses in the box, the next horse got sick and the next horse got sick because of dark energies, or with other words, they had ghosts or spirits inside of the stable. And because I'm a clairvoyant and a medium, luckily for me, I was able to cleanse the stable where this occurred, but it opened and broadened my perspective of how sensitive animals are, and they react on these energies before the human beings are.
I think that that's so important because how often do you hear about when someone buys a very large piece of property that they're going through and having someone come in clearing it, just like we would take a shower every day. We want to clear the property of any residual energy, good, bad, indifferent.
Yeah, and if people are open to it, they can clean it themselves by their intention or by saying thing, burning sage or do whatever. Again, I have online courses about this because I think this is such a relevant topic, because I think most animal owners, or a majority of animal owners, have seen or witnessed their animals having a reaction when there is nothing there. It could be dogs staring out, into the wall, like, and started to bark into a wall, and they knew, but there is a wall. Why are you doing this? Or the same horses over and over again refusing one corner in the riding arena, and all the sensitive horses have the exact same reaction, but they can't explain it. And when I'm coming out, and I visit these homes or stables, it is so clear to me that there is, a deceased person there or a spirit there. And when I cleanse the house or the stable, the behavior disappears in 3 seconds, and people are in awe, like they are like, over the moon of, oh my god, all the horses are accepting this corner now, or my dog stopped barking at the wall now. And to me, it's pretty logical because they just picked up on it.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, I think anyone who owns a cat knows that the cats are always staring at something that's not there. I mean, I've been on walks with my old dog, and he, not all the time, so every once in a while we pass by this tree and you could see the limbs of the tree. There's nothing there. And he was getting all excited, wagging his tail. I'm just like, what in the world are you seeing? Because there's nothing there at all. So they do perceive a lot more.
They do, and because they are that sensitive and we know they have an increased hearing, all their senses are increased, they can smell cancer cells, they can find drugs, they can sense danger from miles away. We need to trust their intuition. They might, be right most of the time.
I think I would trust my dog for sure. So, and people trusting their horse. Like, what is going on here? Well, and have you come into situations where being able to communicate with a horse and its rider has actually helped them both perform better in the arena?
Yeah, I was pretty cautious with entering the elite, because I have worked with many elite riders from various national teams in dressage, military, show jumping, eventing, and so forth, in Europe. And the reason why I was cautious about it was because I didn't want it to become renowned as a winning ticket. Just because they were booking Ditte Young, they knew they were going to win the competition. For what was going to happen if they didn't win, because then it was going to remove their own responsibility and their personal growth with their animals, which is more important to me. And throughout many years, I always said as some sort of motto, ride with the heart. And I always told the riders, ride with the heart and you will win eventually. But you have to focus on why are we communicating with your horse to better understand it and to honor your horse and forget about the medals. And I think the vast majority, probably many years ago, booked me because they wanted to win. And I wasn't that naive, so I didn't understand, well, that is a mentality they have. They're being very competitive. But what it opened was basically all the other riders that kind of looked up to these Grand Prix riders became open to telepathy as well. And then, the wave started and the ripple effect started. And that's why I became so renowned as I, as I luckily am in Europe and now in the US, thanks to many, many other people helping me here. That the ripple effect is the majority is interested in getting to know their animals and not winning.
It's if everyone is doing that, then there's no competitive edge. But if people are connecting with the animals so they can learn more about them and how they can help them, I think that everyone wins in.
That was beautiful said.
Well, my goodness, Dee, you are just such a inspiration. Where can our listeners go to order your book, What the Horse Whispers, and to be part of your community? And congratulations, by the way. I mean, what an accomplishment.
Thank you. I am so excited that the book is finally out in English now because it has existed for so many years in Europe. And they can go to ditteyoung.com and check out more about my services and my books and my online courses.
Well, Ditte Young, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, DT. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, What the Horse Whispers. What the Horse Whispers is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and everywhere books are sold. And remember, support your indie bookstores. If you don't see it on the shelf, just ask for them to order it. And of course, make sure to visit DT's website at ditteyoung.com for more information on her work and to be part of her community. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.